Hello everybody and welcome back down the creek. My name is Justin and this is Bonnie. In today's video we're going to be talking about keeping my live bait good over the winter. I see a lot of guys make bait tanks to keep their minnows and such good over the winter. I wonder if we can do the same thing with night crawlers. I use a lot of night crawlers throughout the year and it's cheaper to buy them in bulk. But the hard part about buying them in bulk is they only last a few weeks. So if you don't do an immense amount of fishing, generally they go bad, they mold, or they starve to death. So my thought is how do I keep them for long periods of time? So we're going to do an experiment. And that's what today's video is about, is we're going to see if I can keep this dozen worms. It's actually a little less than a dozen. It's just what I had left over. See if I can keep them alive for the winter. So stay tuned, and if you like fishing videos, tips and tricks, gear reviews, and I guess scientific fishing related experiments like this one, then I suggest you check out our channel and you see what you can find. I'm sure that there's something that you'll enjoy if you're the avid fisherman or if you're even new to fishing. So let's get into the video. Okay guys, so let's get this experiment started. So to get going, what I have so far is I have a knife, I have some painter's tape, I've got the Canadian crawlers, I've got a paper towel with some carrot shavings. That's what I'm going to feed them to start. And I got a whole bunch of shredded newspaper that I shredded up. And we're going to use that as well. So I didn't do a whole lot of research really to get started, but it's my understanding, I have a basic understanding of what worms do, and they go through the dirt and they help break down plant matter. So that's what they eat, and so that's what we're going to be feeding them. I don't want to give them too much food matter, plant matter like these carrot slices, because it'll smell. But I do want them to be able to eat something. I think that's probably one of the problems you have with just keeping them in here is they run out of food and they starve. So the first thing I did was I bought this lockable tub bin, and I put some topsoil in there. It's still a little bit frozen, but that's okay. It'll thaw out because it's going to be kept in the house. So there's still some ice, which is going to keep the dirt nice and moist. And the next thing I want to do is I want to give them some oxygen holes. So I've got my knife here, and I'm going to see if I can use it to create some holes. This might have been a little easier with the drill, but I don't have that on me. So this is going to have to do. I'm just giving it a twist. Making like an X, and then giving the knife a twist to open up big enough so the air could get in, but a worm couldn't get out. Not that I'm worried, because this is only about half full. So I'll probably finish this and speed it up. Okay, so I made the holes in the container, and I think that will allow sufficient air into the worms. This knife did the trick. A drill would probably be better. I think if I were to do this again, I would use a drill. But I just sharpened this knife with my work sharp. I did a video on that not too long ago. Once it's posted, I'm not sure which one will come out first, but I will put a link or a card here so that you can check that out if you want to see how I keep my knife so sharp. Alright, so now that we got air, we've got a container, and we have dirt inside the container. I think the next thing, at least the smartest thing to do, would be to put the carrot shreds in, but I want them to be under the dirt a little bit because I don't want it to smell. So I'm gonna kind of dig a trench with my knife. This knife is my do dumb things knife. This knife is not very good quality. I'm pretty sure it came from the dollar store, so I'm not really worried too much about ruining it. So then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these carrot shavings in. I'm gonna spread them out, and I'm probably even gonna rip this paper towel up. I'll stick that in there. Then I'm going to use the dirt to cover the carrot and the paper towel up. Now, here's a disclaimer. I don't know what I'm doing here. I've never done this before. I'm not an expert. I'm trying this to see if it works. I don't really know much about worms. I'm probably going to have to do some research here coming up. If you know something that I don't know, maybe you've done this before and can give me any tips or tricks, or give the other viewers some tips and tricks, leave it down in the comments. Good feedback, good input is always welcome here at On the Creek. As a matter of fact, I encourage it. So leave a like and throw a comment down if you know what, if there's something else I should be doing here to make sure that these stay alive. I want this to be successful. So I guess the next part would be to add in the worms. Now I want to find out as well is if I start with 10 worms, will they reproduce? Is this a way to multiply my worms? So I'm going to try and be semi-scientific here, and I'm going to count the number of worms that I'm putting in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 worms. I'm looking at all the worms here. They're all alive, they're all moving, they're all healthy, and they're all whole. I'm not putting any partial worms in here. So I'm done with this. I'm going to probably start keeping these containers to use when I'm fishing. I want a way to bring them out of the bin for storage and put it back into a container that I can use for fishing. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take this paper, and because paper is made from trees, they should eat this as well. And I've got plenty of it. And I'm going to be putting this on the top. paper coming out of the crack of the box. Some fuzz from the dog. So I just took the newspaper from the mail, the ads that was newspaper-like, and it didn't have the gloss, and I shredded up, and I'm going to stick it on here to like a topper. And then I imagine I'll probably have to stir this every so often to break the dirt up and stuff. I got to get a tool for that. So now that I'm thinking about worms, I think that they like dark, cool places. These are Canadian Nightcrawlers, so they're going to want to be cool. So I'm going to stick this whole bin in the bottom of a closet that is against an exterior wall to allow it to stay cool and dark. I probably won't, I wanted to get a clear container so that I could see what's going on underneath, but you know, in hindsight, maybe I should have got something that could stay darker, but that's okay. We're going to put it in a dark closet. And then another thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this painter's tape, because the next time I'll probably do an update on these as we go and check on them, but I probably won't do a count again until spring. So I'm going to put this piece of painter's tape on here, and honestly I'm going to go back at the footage because I can't remember off the top of my head how many worms were in here, but I'm going to write how many worms we put in, and I'm going to write today's date so that a year from now I can tell you how long that they were in for, and I can tell you if we have more worms, if they reproduced. And if it fails and they all die, I'll know how long I kept them for. So I'm going to be checking on this probably weekly or at least monthly. Probably weekly to start. And I'll do a couple update videos, some short snips so that everybody can follow. So there we go. That's the start of our worm experiment. And if this works, I'm going to scale it up. So my local bait shop sells 100 worms for $20 or less. I'd like to get a couple hundred, and over the winter time turn a couple hundred into a couple more hundred. So if my idea is correct and that these worms will reproduce over the winter, and say I get 5 or 10 more worms, now add that times 100, I'm hoping that I can do this every winter, start with a couple hundred worms, and then by next summer I can basically fish with some worms that I made myself. So we're going to try that. It may work, it may not. We'll see. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for updates on this. I'm going to be doing updates as we go along all winter on how the worms are doing. And hey guys, remember, get out there and live. Talk to you next time.